I popped on to my community tab here on YouTube and Instagram and asked you guys what you wanted to know about YouTube. What could I help share information about that would help you along your YouTube journey way? And so many of you said editing. Shonda said, can you do more intro, outro, and moving title editing help videos? D. Matthews said, how the heck do you edit videos? Like the simple way for those of us that are new to it. What program and what's your process? Productive PhD Ninja on Instagram said, editing videos. There were a ton of you who said, I need to know more about editing videos. So I'm going to walk you through the simplest way to edit your videos and also some tips and tricks for editing specifically for YouTube. So those flying titles you see or putting B-roll over top of your footage and all the things to make it super freaking easy so that is not a roadblock that is in your way. Some of my most popular videos are actually iMovie tutorials, which is really fun, but also something I haven't done on here in a really, really long time. So I'm sorry for that. And also, let's remedy that right now. My camera is crooked. For a really, really long time on my YouTube journey, I used iMovie to edit everything that went on this channel. Now, eventually down the road, I did switch over to Adobe Premiere Pro, but I need you to know that one, I have a background in advertising and marketing, and one of the classes I did in college and then some of the tasks I had in some of my first jobs were video editing, and we were always using some type of Adobe software. So while that sounds like, oh, well, you need to do that to be successful, Adobe actually is really easy for me because I've used it for years and years and years and years. But that being said, I still pull videos into iMovie sometimes if I just don't want to fool with the bells and tricks and whistles of some more complicated program. Now, this video is actually coming at a really fun time because if you remember back to my video I did last week when I talked about kind of my plans going forward with YouTube and how I'm going to go from almost 70, hopefully by the time you see this, it'll be 70,000 subscribers to 100,000 subscribers super quick. One of the things that I'm doing to do that is really upping my editing game and really putting a better spin on my videos to hopefully kind of develop this editing style that you know is one of my videos, but also to keep the viewer's attention throughout my videos. So I have taken back over my editing from my editor, and that's a little scary for me because I haven't actually edited my own videos in a really long time. But I need us to be able to get in this really good groove of what I want it to look like, the methodology behind it, the strategy, the feel, the look, all the things before I pass it, or at least pass some of them back over to her. And sometimes it's really hard for me to communicate oh, this was my vision for this part and this was my vision for this part. It probably was just easier for me to sit down and do it. Now, like I said a second ago, I edit in Adobe Premiere Pro now, but any of the edits that I do could be done in iMovie. And I'm going to, when I take you into my computer here in a second, I'm going to actually show you how to do the titles that come in and the sound effects and overlaying B-roll and all of the things that you guys are asking me. So trust me when I tell you that you don't need some other fancy fandangled software, that iMovie is perfect. Will work. It will work for years. Heck, it'll work forever if you want it to. So don't think you need the fancier programs or anything of that nature. Just know that this is all a big learning process. I've been putting videos on YouTube for eons at this point, and I'm still testing and changing and developing new ways to do the things that I do. All right, so we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to jump into this quick iMovie tutorial so that you know exactly how to edit amazing YouTube videos super, super easily and quickly. So to get this party started, first you want to open iMovie and you want to create a new project. So you just want to hit the little plus sign and hit movie. It's seriously that simple. Then you want to import the media that you want in this project. So you can either click the button here or open your Finder window and drag it over. Either one is totally fine. So I'm just going to open my Finder window and drag it over. Now you're probably not seeing this on my screen because I only have it sharing the iMovie screen, but just know I am dragging it over. I am just gonna drag over random footage that I want in this project. I'm gonna drag over some actual talking head clips like this one, and some screen share clips like, you know, you see over top of videos. I'm also going to drag in some like random B-roll that I took the other day that was mainly just as an example. So I'm gonna drag that in. So then you just drag your clip from the top down here to the bottom to create the panel inside the project. When you're down in that panel, you can slide this little doohickey here, it's a doohickey, over to the left or to the right to make the clip shorter or longer on your screen, which then makes it easier to edit in some ways. So sometimes you want it to be a little shorter, sometimes you want it to be bigger. For the most part, I like mine to be big because bigger is always better. Okay, and that's just what it is. So to make simple cuts in iMovie, you just find the place you want to cut. So for me, in this clip, I clapped before I started because I was syncing a separate audio with a separate video. I'm not going to show you how to do this in this tutorial because I do have one that teaches you how to do that. But I essentially need to edit out that first part you see where I'm like fluffing my hair and clapping and all the things. I need to edit that part out. So what I want to do is I want to just hit play in iMovie. If you will hit the space bar, it will play, and hit the space bar and it will stop. So I'm just going to hit play until I find where I want it to stop or to start playing. Fluffing the hair. Okay, so I wanted to start playing right before that. I'm going to move my mouse over to where that starts, and then I'm going to right click there and hit split clip. Or you can place your little doohickey and do Command B, and that will split it. So Command B will split things out. So then you would just click on that, make sure that clip is highlighted, and you will hit delete or right click and hit delete. But essentially that's how you make those cuts in your video. So let's find another one here because I know I screw up in the beginning of this.
I'm about to tell you something that ain't nobody else talking about right now. It has to do with the quarantine.
Okay, so in this particular clip, I want to edit out those little pauses where I was like, I'm about to tell you something, big pause. It has to do with this, big pause, because I don't want that much time in between my phrases because the watcher, you guys, get kind of bored with that. So I am going to cut that out. So I'll just place my thingamajig and then I will do Command B, or again, I could have right clicked as well. So Command B or right click, split it in the first part and then find where I want it to resume and split it there. So now I have this little clip I can edit out. So let's watch it before and then we'll watch it after.
I'm about to tell you something that ain't nobody else.
So once I delete this clip, we'll watch it after.
Tell you something that ain't nobody else talking about.
That's called a jump cut. That essentially is jumping from one place to another. You would never see that on TV, right? Because it would look like really cheap and not well done. But in YouTube world, it's pretty common to make jump cuts throughout your video. Now, the really cool part about doing jump cuts is that anytime the sound or the video kind of changes, it will help keep the viewer's attention throughout the video. So jump cuts help them not have a lot of dead space and also help their attention span. So they're like, oh, we jumped. So they're a really great way to quickly edit without having to have any kind of effects or anything like that. You can edit out like sound issues. You can edit out like where you cough. There's one here in a second where I cough. You can edit out anything in that way and it will kind of just piece together. So what I recommend when you're filming is just keep going, or you can take a pause so you see the flat line in the audio and you know that's a good part to cut. So for example, if you see here, there is a flat line here on my audio. Super flat. You can tell I'm not talking at all. And I know that that is somewhere I'm probably going to want to edit. So when I go back and edit, I can kind of like hit those spots pretty quickly.
I've got some information.
So I can split it there and I can find where I want it to pick back up.
Hey, honey, hey.
Which is exactly where the audio picked back up, which works great. So let's split that out. Now, this is actually where I want to insert my intro into the video. Now, you don't have to have an intro on your YouTube channel for it to be successful. Plenty of people don't, and their videos are just fine without one. Some people like to roll a branded intro that is the same in every video. Some people want to roll an intro that changes with every video. It's completely up to you, but for the purposes of this video, I will just show you how to insert another clip that might have your intro in it. So I'm going to pull over an intro that was kind of the base of an intro I did. So again, I'm dragging it from the Finder over into the project window for iMovie. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete this clip where it goes. And then anytime there's a break like this in iMovie, you can insert something there and it will go between the two video clips. If you insert it above one of the videos, it's going to go over top of the video clip, so your audio would still be playing in the background. If you place it in between two clips, it will go in between the two videos. So let me show you what I mean. So this is the final base of my intro, and this is just like a sped up clip, and it already has some music and things like that in it. So I'll show you what that looks like just straight out of the gate. So you can see a couple of things here. One, my intro is a lot louder than my audio on my iMovie clip. So you want to adjust those to be fairly equal, because if you don't, I promise you, your viewer will point it out because I've definitely done that in the past. But you want to make it to where they don't have to turn it down and turn it up a lot in your video. They can just leave their audio the same. Also, in my regular audio, you can see by the spikes how much louder that intro audio is than the audio in my clips. So right now we're just going over basic edits, okay? So essentially, to fix that problem, you need to even the two out. And normally you can do that fairly visually, but also there's some numbers you can look at. Anytime you want to adjust the audio, you can click on the clip and then you go up here to this panel and you click on the little megaphone here. When you click on the megaphone, it's going to bring up these options and you can adjust it above 100%. So like if I wanted to take this one to 200% because it was really low before, then it will adjust the audio on this clip to be 2 times as loud as it is now. So let's just listen to the difference. I'm going to put it back on 100%. And I've got my computer turned up where you can hear it fairly well.
Because I've got some information.
Okay, so you hear that. And then let's turn it up to 200%. 214 is fine.
Because I've got some information.
So you can tell it is now louder, but this clip is also way louder than the rest of it still. So I want to do the same thing to that clip. I want to decrease the volume quite a bit, and I want to try and even them out visually as much as I can. So I'm going to take this clip and take it up just a little more, maybe 300%. Take this one and take it up so I can see a little better visually how those audio bars do. Take this one down even more. Now let's see if that works better.
Because I've got some information.
It's still a lot louder, so I would want to play with that and get it much lower than it is now, so it kind of matches the other clips. Now the other thing here is I could totally just pull back open the video file for where I created that edit for that intro and decrease the volume on it there so that when I drag it in, I don't have to do so much editing on the audio side. So now you know how to cut things out, you know how to make jump cuts, you know how to adjust the audio. Let me show you how to insert titles and how to insert B-roll and sound effects. And once you know those things, everything else kind of comes really easily. Yes, there's a lot more tools in here. There's all of these tools up here where we talk about like, do you want to speed it up? Do you want to add a filter? Do you want to play with the noise reduction. You can absolutely play around with those things, but they're literally there on the face value, so we don't need to go too in depth on them right now. So let me show you how to put in titles, B-roll, and sound effects. Here on this part of the video, if I want to just pop my Instagram handle across the video so that they now see my Instagram handle, I can do that in a couple of different ways. I can drag a PNG image with a transparent background into the project and overlay that over the photo or over the video, or I can just make a title inside of iMovie. The problem with iMovie's titles, and I think this is where it really starts lacking some functionality, is they're kind of generic and they're hard to change. You can't just like change the title, and you'll see what I mean in just a second. So let's say I want to add my Instagram handle right here. I can go to titles up here, and it will bring up the title library inside of iMovie, and I can drag anything you do in iMovie, you can drag into that project panel and exactly where you want it. So I can drag the title I want onto this specific spot. So let's say I want this title here to go right there. All I have to do is I have to say at Jessica Stansberry, and then I can go in and I can change the color by highlighting it and going up here to this panel, and this little window will come up. So if I just want that to be yellow and I want this to be like a orangey pink, then that is exactly what I can do there. So the titles have actually gotten better in here over the years. They still don't have a ton of functionality, but they do have, you know, a little more than they used to. So you can't really change the way that it enters the screen or anything like that, but overall you can change the color and you can change the font and the size and the boldness, italic, etc. So now it looks like this.
And if you are brand new here, make sure you hit subscribe.
So that's really awesome, and that would be great. Also though, if I have an image where I've already built out what I want it to look like, what I want my Instagram handle to look like when it comes across, I can drag that into the panel as well and see, you know, exactly what I want to see rather than having to play with the titles that are in iMovie. So I do have one in here that I've done before. So I'm just gonna drag it. And again, I know you're not seeing my Finder window, but I'm just gonna drag it from Finder into the project panel here. And so I'm gonna put it in that exact same spot. Now they're both there if I do that, okay? So now we have my image coming in and that title coming in, and obviously we don't want that. So I'm gonna delete the title and show you kind of how to change this image. When you click on the image, you get the controls for the image above the preview right here. So you can play around with the way that image shows up on top of your video. So if you go here to this little control, if I hover over it, it's video overlay settings. So that's exactly what we need. And you can just play around with the way it comes in to the video and how it overlays. So if I just want it to just be there and not worry about it like flying in or doing anything crazy, then I can, one, set it to picture in picture, and then I can go crop it and I can fit it to the screen. So again, it takes some practice, but now I can just like drag it around to exactly where I want it. I can also at this point tell it what I want it to do. So right now it looks like this, and it just dissolves in and will dissolve out. If I click on that screen again, we can do zoom. So now it's going to zoom in and zoom out. And we can also do swap, which is kind of a weird effect where it swaps the picture and the thing you now have overlaid. You know, I mean, if you ever wanted to do that, that's definitely an option. That doesn't work necessarily for what we've got going on, but if you wanted to, it's there. Now, inside of this crop option, you can do like fit, crop to fill, Ken Burns, and each image you bring in is going to really need a different setting here, so definitely just play with that. But essentially, I am pleased now with this. It's going to dissolve in and out. It's perfect. It's great. Now, let's say when this comes in, I want there to be like a clicky noise or a poppy noise. I will drag in some audio clips that I have of sound effects. So I'll go back to my media up here and I will drag in any kind of audio clips that I want to use. So I get all of my sound effects and all of my music from Epidemic Sound. They are great. This is not sponsored by them. They're amazing. I've used them for several years now at this point, and they have a great selection of things that you can get from them. So let's just say I want like a pop when it comes in. So I'm going to bring in the pop and I'm going to put it underneath my existing audio and line it up straight on that cursor that I put as my kind of marker for when I want this to happen. So it sounds a little something like this.
And if you are worried,
so that pop happened when my graphic came up. So if I wanted it to be, you know, something else, a mouse click, whatever, I can drag that in.
And if you are worried,
so now you heard the click when the image came up. So that's how you bring in sound effects and overlays or titles in any way. Now, if you want to add B-roll, let me just explain something about B-roll. There's a couple different ways to do it. You can absolutely add B-roll over top of your talking head video so they can still hear the audio but see something different. This works really well if you are referencing something. So I want to reference my Instagram and I want to pop up B-roll video of me scrolling my Instagram, or I want to put in an image that kind of acts as B-roll of a screenshot of my YouTube channel and its current subscriber rate. Something like that. Anything where you don't necessarily want to hear the audio of the clip, that is kind of considered B-roll. I'm sure there's instances where you would want to hear the audio of B-roll, but for the most part, it's those video and photo clips that you overlay over top of your talking, and then the talking happens underneath. So you don't actually have to delete any of this footage here on your screen to make that work and do really well. So let's say I want to insert this video that I have up here of me, see, I'm just like writing on my iPad and looking at my computer. Let's say I want to insert that over top of a clip here and allow myself to keep talking underneath. So all I have to do is drag that right on top, and I can crop it or whatever I want to do. So I actually said there, this is B-roll. So I can now click on that clip and trim it just the same way I trim the other, by either right-clicking and trimming or hitting Command B, deleting what I don't want, putting it exactly where I want it to go. And now this is kind of the effect that happens.
Nobody else is telling you this right now. And this is something that...
So my audio is still there, and if I decide I don't like the B-roll there, I can just delete it or move it, and my original video is still under there, which is really awesome. Another thing is that if you want to insert B-roll in a spot in your video and add music, speed it up a little, add some music, that is always an option. So I'll scroll to the very end of the project here and I'll put that same B-roll at the very end of the project. This is also how you will put two clips together in iMovie. But let's say I want to speed up this clip. Let's say I want to trim it just like I did a minute ago. And let's say I want to speed it up and then add some music underneath it. This is how you'll do that. So first of all, you'll have the clip selected. You can either right click and do show speed editor or go up here to this little speed gauge, I guess you can say, and change the speed. So we can do fast, we can do different options here on like 4X, 8X, whatever, and we can go from there. Now, little something to note. Because this was B-roll and I still had my mic going and all the things, it still has sound. So if I leave it all sped up, you're gonna hear that like chipmunk talking in the background. So to delete the audio here, all you have to do, again, select the clip, right click it, and then do detach audio. When you do that, you can then delete the audio that goes along with the file. Now, anytime I'm deleting something, I'm just clicking it and hitting delete on my keyboard. You can also right click and do that as well. So here on this clip, it is now sped up to 4 times speed. If I go back up here, we can see that again. And this is what it looks like. So you can tell everything's moving a little faster. If I want to make it 20 times speed or 8 times speed, I absolutely can. It's going to move even faster. But let's say I want to insert music under here because I want some kind of effect where I'm bridging some time in my videos. So I've got a song here that I'll just pull in from Finder, and essentially you just put it underneath. Now this little orange line, remember how we were changing the volume earlier with those settings? You can also drag this line up and down. You have to be really careful changing audio volume in the editing process because you can make it way too loud and you can make it way too soft and it distorts it. Also, in this particular clip, I just left in the camera audio, which had a lot of background noise. And with that background noise, I wouldn't want to turn it up really high or you're going to hear a bunch of background noise the whole time. So anyway, let's just say that I want this clip here. I'm going to turn it down a little. Oops. Okay. And then let's see what that looks like. See, that would make a great intro to this video. Maybe I'm talking about working from home or how I plan my day. That would make a great intro with a title going across it that says how I plan my day or something of that nature. But essentially, that's the basics of it. You need to know how to split a clip, adjust the volume, delete things, do jump cuts, add titles, add sound effects, add music. You can also, by the way, add music underneath audio. So if I wanted to leave where I'm talking, but also have a little bit of music in the background, I can do that. There's basically no limit to the things you can do in iMovie, except that I think their titles are a little rough. So grab a title if you want to create an image in Canva with a clear background and drag it in. But either way, you can drag in clips where you want them and adjust them accordingly. So just don't overcomplicate it, right? Like you don't want your YouTube process to be so complicated that it feels really hard to you. And if you are brand new to editing, anything's gonna feel hard right now. Like iMovie's gonna feel hard. Anything you use is going to feel hard. So don't let it feel so hard that it stops you from doing the things. So hopefully this was a really great place for you to start. And remember, if you love this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And head over to my community tab on my channel and leave your suggestion for any YouTube specific videos that you want to see in the future, because I used to publish a ton of very specific YouTube tutorials, and while I definitely have still been doing that, it's definitely not been at the scale that it was before, and you guys have been begging. So I want to know all the things you need to know. I want to know everything you want to know about YouTube so that I can put that in my content strategy and get it out in the world for you. Until next time, hit subscribe. Bye, y'all.